Dr. Anthony Fauci has been giving safety guidelines and criticizing the U.S. response, but apparently it's fallen on deaf ears right now at the White House because Fauci says he hasn't briefed you-know-who in about 2 months. And, suddenly there's these leaked White House documents that question his credibility by listing his so-called mistakes that he made. So if you-know-who isn't listening to one of the most respected experts in the world, who is, after all, human, who is he taking guidance from, Joy?
Funny you should ask. It so happens that he retweeted something from Chuck Woolery, who used to be, remember him, Whoopi? He used to be the host of The Love Connection. So, darlings, don't listen to Dr. Fauci, who was right about the AIDS crisis and the flu epidemic and whatever else. Listen to Chuck Woolery, a game show host, and Donald Trump, what was that? A talk show? What kind of a show was that? A reality show. Listen to them. Don't listen to the scientists. And by the way, one more thing. I want to make one thing clear. When I speak about Republicans, Megyn, I am talking about the leadership in Congress. I am not talking about the run-of-the-mill Republican voter. So do not say that to me again, okay?
And as the only Republican in mainstream media, when you talk like that, it puts us on the defense because it sounds accusatory. Republicans don't care about X. Republicans don't care about Y. I vote Republican. I'm voting for these people. So the implication is that I don't care about them. And when you're talking about schools, Fairfax County is used as an example of the worst examples of public schooling and how they've handled this crisis and how they've handled remote learning with schools. And that is in Virginia with a Democrat governor in place running it. So there's a lot of blame to be had all around, and all I want is for us at this show to lead by example and not be part of the problem and come in being accusatory about how all Republicans...
Okay,
I know, but when you attack Republicans
you have idiots like
you are
this guy
attacking their voters, and it's going to help him get reelected,
Okay, I
Joy.
swear to God, if you don't stop,
reelected.
I'm gonna take us to break again. Okay?
I didn't bring this up. We were moving
here's
on
the
to another
subject.
topic. Joy brought it
Here's
up.
the subject. Here's the subject that we are actually talking about. So, Sonny, what is the point of questioning experts if you don't think they have any credibility? What's the point of it?
Well, I think the problem, I think the problem that we see with someone like Donald Trump is that we haven't had real leadership. Real leaders like to surround themselves with experts, like to surround themselves with people that aren't afraid to interrogate them, aren't afraid to, that have strong egos and high ambitions, and aren't afraid to counter-argue them. I mean, one of my favorite books is A Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's a wonderful historian. And she talks about how President Lincoln was that kind of leader. He surrounded himself by a team of rivals. And Donald Trump, I thought, because he lacked such depth of knowledge in terms of leadership, would do something like that, especially during a pandemic. And what we have learned is that he doesn't do that. He listens to people like Sean Hannity. He listens to people like Tucker Carlson. He's guided by Jared Kushner in terms of this pandemic, who has no experience in the medical field. That's what he does. He doesn't listen to the experts. And I think really that's one of his major failings. That's why we're in the situation that we're in, right?
Right. And Megyn, you don't think Fauci should be the only one, should be the only voice on this? When you say that, what do you mean?
I just always thought it was dangerous to have one person who was sort of being idolized in the media to the extent that he was. There were candles made of people that could pray to Dr. Fauci. And I always think it's dangerous because the media gives and the media takes away. And I think the problem with coronavirus is there's an absolute moving goalpost depending on which county, city, and state you're in. If you're in, one county in whatever, Florida, and another county in Maryland, there are different sets of rules. And yes, some of that's depending by case, but some of it's depending by governor. The governor of Arizona still hasn't put a mask mandate in, and Arizona is, to my knowledge, the hotspot #1 on the entire world for COVID cases right now. So I just think we should have more experts talking. And unfortunately, the tweet that Joy is bringing up, the Chuck Woolery tweet, President Trump is retweeting him saying, you can't trust right here. Everyone is lying, the media, Democrats, doctors. I mean, this is basically Trump saying and agreeing that you can't trust media and you can't trust doctors. And obviously, I think that's dangerous. And I didn't know who Chuck Woolery
Very
was
dangerous,
until this morning.
especially for. Well, that's a good thing. But, you know, really, we've been talking about wearing a mask, and we know that this is, as you said, Megan, this is always shifting because that's what we're finding out about this particular disease. So the idea that, you know, Dr. Birx is there and Fauci is there, and I'm sure other doctors are there, it just seems to me that there is a very specific thing that is happening, and that is the idea that you don't listen to your doctor because you know better doesn't really bode well, like if you're going into the hospital. So if you start thinking, well, I know how to take care of this, that's why I don't put a lot of trust in stuff I read on the internet, because the doctor is going to have a better idea. And if he doesn't know, he or she is going to say, you know what, I was wrong about this. This is what we have to do now. You don't seem to be able to get that from anybody in government, which is kind of sad and freaky and kind of scary. But